So I think when Miss Angel said in her speech that she got rid all of her anxiety away before she came to the stage, well, what I thought was, I think I will be doing that too. But now I think I'm being more anxious than ever before. So uh, actually, I think I'm very hardworking these days, because I think it was 2 to 3 weeks before when I know that we had a TEDxWUIS youth, I had to, sorry, midterm exam. So actually, I just use all my spare time to prepare this. When I first saw titled TEDxWUIS youth, uh, when Mr. Jones said he was the X of this title, I think I'm the youth. To be honest, I think I am the smallest of all these presenters. Yes, I'm only like 14-year-old little children. So maybe I'll start with my topic, pioneering the red planet, a vision for terraforming Mars. I'll start with the also very hardworking, just like me, a guy who is also very hardworking. It said painted by Justice Sustermans. He painted this, so we can see that the guy he was painting, he's holding a telescope in his right hand, shows that he's an astronomer and very wise. So he is Galileo Galilei, the father of zernal astronomy. So let's go back to the 17th century Italy. One night, he gazed through his telescope and found a reddish disk, which we know today is Mars, the fourth planet away from our sun in the solar system. This marked the beginning of observational astronomy. Now, into all these cosmos, we know that there's Milky Way, there's Virgo supercluster, all over the universe, but at that time, they only knew a planet, a very red planet called Mars. So one day, I think when I was in grade 2, I was in Canada, and one of my friends gazed upon the sky, and he said, "Wow, it's a comet, I'll make a wish." And I took out my iPad, and I went on the Galaxy app, and I said, "Hey, it's Mars." And he was like, "Oh, you ruined my wish." Well, actually, you know why we had all these kind of apps? Just because of him. He marked the beginning. He was the pivot. He was the pivot to today's modern astronomy. So beginning of humanity exploration into the cosmos. Now, from now on, we are into the 21st century, so the possibility of terraforming Mars is bigger than ever before. I'll show two photos comparing Mars and Earth, what we have today. This is from the European Space Agency, very legitimate. You can see from the first photo that is about the gas components of the atmosphere. So Mars mainly has carbon dioxide, which we will suffocate, we'll die if we just went on there. And apart from what we have on Earth, we have nitrogen and oxygen, which are sustainable for human beings. On next, we have like many basic characteristics. We are about like twice as large as Mars and 4 times as massive, 3 to 4 times. That's why Mars has a 1/3 gravity compared to Earth. So what we have to do is to terraform Mars is actually embark on a journey of almost like hardly impossible, because first you have to know that Mars has a temperature of -80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about -62 degrees Celsius. So it's freezing. And they also have carbon dioxide filled atmosphere, which is unable to breathe. So the first thing we have to do is to create a breathable atmosphere. Let's start introducing oxygen to the atmosphere. Creating a breathable atmosphere is one of the most vital points of a creature that could be able to live on there, because without oxygen, many plants like our Earth, if we just build everyone to Mars, the ecosystem will collapse and everything will just die. What we have to do next is to increase the temperature. As we all know, as I mentioned, -62 degrees Celsius is actually just like a snowball. You'll just die. So increasing the temperature will also result in a very big climate change. What we have on Earth, we have known as a global warming. And some people say, we need to stop warming everything. Well, actually, that's not right, because Mars does not have enough greenhouse gases. They do not
have the power, they do not have the everything that they need, the potential to warm up its surface. I went on a research that about 3.7 billion years ago, Mars had just the same thing as Earth, but they do not have a thick atmosphere. And the solar wind just pushed all those away. So maybe we need to return everything back in order to make Mars habitable again. The third thing to do is like to melt ice from two poles, because while increasing the temperature, the ice will melt as well. The ice from the north and south pole of Mars will melt as well, which causes more water and more possibility for life being on it. This is from NASA. You can see an astronaut says, "We need you." And at the back of this astronaut, it shows Mars, which is currently barren. So let's imagine a barren, desolate world now we have turns into a verdant, green, everything plentiful of all things that we have today on Earth. So what is the advantages? So benefits of terraforming Mars. What are these? Land, science, humanity, organisms, or maybe even jewelry, because as I mentioned, raw materials on Mars are actually 90% more abundant than we have on Earth. So maybe you get rich. Well, actually, the benefits of terraforming are way more than these. Scientific exploration has been speeding up these days, since more and more technologies are coming up. For example, I think you've ever heard of a spacecraft called Curiosity that was about 2016 on Mars, that they found that they have very much Earth-like dirt, what we have today on Earth. So what that means is that we could totally just live on Mars just by adjusting its climate. And why don't we just do it now? Because as we know, terraforming Mars meaning a second home for us. For example, about 70 million years ago, there was a global catastrophe that wiped away all dinosaurs. And even if the dinosaurs knew that there would be an asteroid, what can they do? They can only lift an umbrella. Well, actually, that would not stop an asteroid hitting it and killing all of the dinosaurs away. And the second benefit I want to say is that this causes more and more creatures. Maybe even aliens may want to come to Mars and say, wow, humans are so strong, maybe we should not fight with them, we should be friends with them. And that also makes, how do you say, a link of the whole universe creatures. So, but perhaps the biggest benefit terraforming Mars can be isn't only just all these points I mentioned before, but like terraforming is a task that transcends national boundaries and ideological differences. So let me explain this for you. For example, China wants to go on Mars and start building colonies, while other countries say, wow, China is doing this, well, maybe our country needs to do it as well. And once they found out that a country by its individual does not have enough resources in order to terraform Mars, so global unity and cooperation is needed in order to terraform Mars, because we don't know how many years will be needed to change this into just like our Earth, maybe even hundreds of years, thousands of years, maybe even centuries, millennia. So I think it actually goes from individuals, each one of us, into groups, into national, into a whole world of humanity. By doing this cooperation, we could just do all this tasks easily. Boom, easy. This guy, Carl Sagan, he's a very famous astronomer. That is, like, if you're really interested in astronomy, you can just see his name almost on every single magazine. He's like currently looking at, I think, NASA, and when there was like Voyager 1, a spacecraft which was about already into the Oort cloud, like out of the main solar system, the Voyager 1 like took a picture of Earth, and he said, we live on this tiny blue dot. We need to go go out of this Earth. So remember our ancestors, when they first stepped onto the borders of Earth, they never know. They went into the unknown. At first, we had to eat raw meat. Sounds disgusting these days, but they had to eat raw meat. And they found out, well, this thing can be cooked. Then they started eating beef, mutton, and today, we are actually like our ancestors that were about hundreds of thousands of years ago. Because we never know what Mars will be. For example, when the moment I stepped on this mat, I didn't know it was so slippery that I almost fell. So maybe we should just push ourselves into the boundaries of Mars. That'll be so easily done. So maybe we need to force ourselves in this vast universe. So maybe our ancestors, our generations may be able to achieve our goals. Sorry. Carl Sagan said something as well. Somewhere something incredible is to be done. So what I think for myself is that terraforming a planet is actually very incredible, because, as I said, like, if there's a new understanding of astronomy, then it could totally like make more scientific exploration and all those resilience inside. And I think like terraforming Mars is a bold and audacious vision, a very wide vision. I think humans are very powerful. They have the potential. They have everything to do to serve us like the top of all of the creatures. This is why we are dominating Earth, and I think we should do that the same on Mars. We could dominate Mars as well. Thank you for listening.